Well, hello, my fabulous friends. I hope you're doing well. Now, I know the title of this is Canada Bankrupt. It's not just for Canadians, it's for Americans and the British people as well. This actually affects us. And no wonder Mark Carney is over in England groveling. Now, there is a bizarre theory, and at first I thought this can't be true. Some people have been writing about it and warning us about it, that Canada is officially bankrupt. And that's why they prorogued Parliament. Now, if you're not Canadian, prorogue just means they shut down Parliament. Justin Trudeau said he's shutting it down so they can elect a new leader. And but he sure has been spending a lot since then. And that's what made me think about, well, if we're bankrupt, where's he getting this 11 billion here and 65 billion there? Well, we know it's all going to his bank account. So here is what is a weird coincidence. Hudson Bay Company is going bankrupt. So here's the theory that's on the internet, that Canada's going bankrupt. They prorogued Parliament while they do all the, I guess you call it Chapter 11 things, because apparently Canada owes the United States a lot of money. And that's why Trump keeps saying, I'm annexing you, I'm going to take you over, because that's what happens in bankruptcy court. You don't pay your mortgage and the bank comes and takes your house. So this is basically, in layman's terms, what's going on. And I thought, this is nonsense. We are owned by the British royal family. We are owned by the crown, not the family per se, the monarchy. Buckingham Palace is our ultimate owner, and you could just turn our money over and see whose face is on your money is who your owner is. So I thought, isn't that a coincidence? Canada is going bankrupt, and so is Hudson's Bay Company, a company that's been around since 1670. And you know who decreed what we call Canada Now for the king was King Charles II. So what happened is these explorers came over, they saw the potential of what was here, and they wrote back to the king, or they went back to the king or whatever, and said, listen, man, do we have something for you? So they came into Hudson's Bay. So the king, on May 2nd, 1670, the birthday of the Hudson's Bay Company, he granted Hudson's Bay Company a royal charter for the sole trade and commerce of all those seas, straits, bays, rivers, lakes, creeks, and sound, in whatsoever latitude they shall be, that lie within the entrance of the straits commonly called the Hudson Straits, or the Hudson's Bay, which are not now actually possessed by any of our subjects or by the subjects of any other Christian prince or state, and that the said land be there henceforth called Rupert's Land. In addition to the grant of commercial rights, the charter also stated that the grant was, together with all the lands and territories upon the countries, coasts, and confines of the seas, bays, lakes, rivers, creeks, and sounds aforesaid, that are not already actually possessed, and including all mines royal. The basis of this claim and charter was under the principle of the doctrine of discovery, whereby the lands were considered free to claim if they were not already owned by other European nations. The Supreme Court of Canada has held that the grant also gave the company ownership of the resources within Rupert's Land. However, on the 30th of March 2023, a joint statement issued by the Vatican, like why the Vatican, and the Dicastery for Culture and the Dicastery for Integral Human Development explicitly rejects the document referred to as the Doctrine of Discovery. Because remember, the Catholic Church was here as well. Okay, so this, if you look closely, here, what they were talking about is all the watershed that goes into the Hudson's Bay. So anything that watersheds into Hudson's Bay, whether it's a creek, river, whatever. This is the land. Now, the reason they went to the king is because they needed money for exploring. So the king said, okay, I'll give you exploring, but in return, you give me the goods. Doesn't mean the king owns the land. It's a document of discovery. All right. A business agreement. So this is a business transaction. No different than hiring employees. The king still does not own the land. And then what happened was, they expanded into the Dominion of Canada, and that this is all the orange part that became the Dominion of Canada. Now, remember, for people who don't know, the Continental Divide is along this line right here, where BC and Alberta split up. So everything on this side of the Continental Divide goes into the Pacific Ocean. Everything on this side goes into Hudson's Bay. So everything on this side was technically owned by Hudson's Bay Company. All right. Now, here is what's called the Deed of Surrender. So Hudson's Bay, la, 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 we're trapping beavers and we're sending furs like crazy back to Europe, beaver pelt, fox, all kinds of minks, all kinds of are going back to Europe to sell. They were also looking for the mines and whatnot. Anyways, it was very lucrative, extremely lucrative. So now this deed of surrender. Now for 200 years, la 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 la, everything's going along just fine. The deed of surrender, or Rupert's Land and Northwestern Territory Order. So this is Rupert's Land, Northwestern Territory Order when it expanded, is an 1870 British Order in Council that transferred ownership of Rupert's Land and Northwestern Territory from the United Kingdom to the newly created Dominion of Canada. The deed ended just over 200 years of Hudson's Bay Company, a private company, control over Rupert's Land and began Western Canada expansion. Often confused with the Rupert's Land Act of 1868, the deed is different as the act only expressed that the United Kingdom and Canada permitted the transfer, but did not settle on the details of exchange with the Hudson's Bay Company, which were outlined in the deed of surrender. So, do you understand? So Hudson's Bay owned this. The king supported them in men, in ships, in money, right? You need money to do this. But in exchange, the king got lots of things too. And also the king is stating here that it's all mines royal, not the land, mines. Okay? And the deed of surrender is just saying, it's like a piece of paper saying, yeah, you can surrender that to us to now. And I believe that, by now we're Queen Victoria. And Queen Victoria, I believe, offered money to the Hudson's Bay Company, like a business exchange. It's not like the land was automatically owned by the United Kingdom or by royals. It's just over 200 years. It was sponsored by the British royal family and United Kingdom. And so all our rules, all our laws started coming over here, started developing little cities and towns and jurisdictions and whatnot. And they were all Brits. So of course, what did they bring with them? All their British laws and everything. But it still wasn't a British territory. It was almost like by osmosis. It was still privately held land by Hudson's Bay Company. Using the doctrine of discovery, the British Parliament further extended the company's domain in 1821 to the Northwestern Territory, as well with the passage as an act for regulating the fur trade and establishing a criminal and civil jurisdiction within certain parts of North America. Okay, so we're running like the Brits are. In 1867, with Confederation, the new Dominion of Canada sought to expand westward. In that same year, Canada's Parliament expressed its desire to the United Kingdom and soon after entered into talks with the, look at this, the clock agrees with me, HBC, Hudson's Bay Company, a private company, to arrange the transfer of the territory. These talks resulted in the Deed of Surrender, which was part of an order in council by the United Kingdom titled Rupert's Land and Northwestern Territory, enactment number 3, Order of Her Majesty in Council admitting Rupert's Land and the Northwestern Territory into the Union, dated the 23rd day of June, 1870. The deed was approved and issued on June 23, 1870, and took effect on July 15, 1870. The province of Manitoba, the first new province to join Confederation, was created on the same day. Now, here's the thing. It was only a deed of surrender. Nothing actually was surrendered. It was by osmosis that the United King and the British royal family took over Canada. Over 200 years, they just probably assumed King Charles signed something, King Charles II signed something that was theirs and just kind of went by osmosis. So why would they do something so important as, say, the deed of surrender, saying, yeah, we can do this, but we have to buy it from Hudson's Bay Company, who still legally owns all that land. We only own the mines and the passageways to get the furs and what's going on. And now Hudson's Bay Company is also in bankruptcy. So here's the thing. They say that Canada is bankrupt. Hudson's Bay Company is bankrupt. Is Canada still owned by the Hudson's Bay Company? And Hudson's Bay Company was bought by an American company, I believe in 09, 07, 09, because they were floundering. And what happened is that American company sold all of Hudson's Bay's stores, there's 200 stores, sold all the stores' real estate holdings. And now Hudson's Bay is in trouble and they have no assets because that company sold all their land holdings of where the stores were. So when Trump goes on and says Canada, is subsidized by the tune of $250 billion, I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Well, apparently the United States, that's who we owe. And that's where the bankruptcy is. And that's why our parliament is prorogued. So they can do this cleanup of this bankruptcy. And the rumor is, and that's why our elections are delayed. And the rumor is that perhaps this is how Trump is going to take Canada. I always thought, no, you have to go through the crown first. There are no documents at all that the British royal family own any of Canada. There's a deed of surrender, but nothing was ever signed after that. There's no paper trail of how much money they bought it from Hudson's Bay Company. Remember, Hudson's Bay Company is a private company. And they were running under the royal decree of the king, saying, yeah, I'll support you. So let's ask the cards. How true is this story? Upright, positive, reversals, negative. First of all, how true is this story that Canada is bankrupt? I know our GDP is extremely, like over 100%. I think it's 115%. We owe much more money than we're bringing in. Regrets, 4 of Cups in reverse. Ooh, 5 of Pentacles in reverse. Justice. Now, if that was upright, that is poverty. Oh my God, 10 of Swords, ruin. Seven of Cups in reverse, lots of gaslighting going on. The Hierophant is that the royal family, and the Ten of Cups upright. Let me see, is that all fitting in? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. I think there's legs to this story. There's legs to this story. It's what a coincidence that Hudson's Bay Company is Hudson's Bay Company the face of Canada's bankruptcy? You know what this means? This means Canada's not a real country. Is Hudson's Bay Company bankruptcy the face of Canada's bankruptcy? Is Hudson's Bay bankruptcy actually the face of Canada's bankruptcy? Well, there's the history of it. 6 of Cups upright, 10 of Cups upright. Wow, 10 of Pentacles upright, Queen of Pentacles in reverse, 7 of Wands upright, the Sun upright, the Empress in reverse. Absolutely. Here she is, born on May 2nd, 1670. She's a Taurus. And the Empress as well, Venus. We are going to, wow. This is yes. There's only 2 reverse. That's a 5. That's a very strong yes. Here's the legacy. Here's the end of the legacy. Here's everything being passed down. Queen of Pentacles in reverse. I often wonder if the Queen actually knew about this. They are, I mean, they're going to defend themselves, and I think we're going to hear something about this. Something is going to come to light about this, that Canada has no, this would be the Empress, this would be Queen Victoria. She neglected to finish the papers, or the government did, or something stepped in. Perhaps she didn't want to pay the money. And the royal family's notoriously tight with their money. And perhaps she didn't want to pay the money and just said, well, I'll just take you over. We'll just become the Dominion of Canada, and like, we'll just take you over. And we'll just tell people we're the royal family, and we'll just put our name we'll just put our face on your money, and who's going to fight it? We'll make the Royal Canadian Mint. We'll just, by osmosis, become a royal, right? We were under the British flag until after World War I, and then we finally got our own flag. And then in the 60s, we got the current flag. And we only have our own constitution since 1981. What's the underlying? Release of a burden. Okay, so knowing that Canada is in bankruptcy, is that why Carney was installed? Because remember, he was the Bank of England. He was the Bank of Canada. Then he was the Bank of England. And he's big, big, huge WF and globalist and Satan and a snake. And he's been installed. He's never been voted by anybody. He's never received 1 vote in his whole life for anything in Canada. Let's just see. Is Carney installed part of the bankruptcy proceedings? Is Carney installed, and without him calling an election till October, is that part of the bankruptcy proceedings? And is that why, you notice Trump doesn't call him Governor Carney? Is that why they wanted to get rid of Trudeau and install Carney, so that they have fresh negotiations? Page of Wands upright. There's betrayal, Three of Swords in reverse, Ace of Pentacles, yes. The Hanged Man in reverse, the High Priestess in reverse, Queen of Swords in reverse. That's the end of a contract. Letting go of a contract here. We're going to hear about the end of a contract. And the final one, Justice. Well, there's your bankruptcy court. Yes. 1, 2, 3. I think that something is going to be released about this Queen of Swords, the end of a contract. So that's part of the conspiracy, is that Trump is going to be able just to take us over because we owe the money to the United States. Never made sense to me, like, what in the world do we owe United States $250 billion for? Like, seriously. So he says, oh, we protect your borders or whatever. Well, our military isn't $250 billion. I never understood that. We're going to hear something here, this Justice upright and the Hanged Man, something, we're going to start to see things from a different point of view, and some information will be released. Some kind of contract is going to be undone. Will Trump end up getting Canada because of this bankruptcy? See, I read the cards and I said, would Trump and the King, and it was both a really weak reading. The cards were probably telling me it has nothing to do with the King. Will Trump be able to get Canada through this bankruptcy, through all these proceedings that are currently being hidden from the Canadian people? Like, it doesn't make sense. It honestly doesn't make sense that we have this prime minister that nobody heard of until there was a Liberal, well, not nobody, most people didn't hear of, that they stopped Parliament. There were zero reasons to stop Parliament because Trudeau wasn't stepping down till a new leader was elected in. Even his election to get in through the Liberal, that was a private election, is really sketchy, extremely sketchy. Like, he was installed. Mark Carney was installed. You can take that to the bank. Is this how Trump is going to acquire Canada? Is this how Trump is going to acquire Canada? Cards are ready. 4 of Pentacles, Queen of Cups. That's Canada. We're July 1st. The World in reverse. 10 of Wands upright. 2 of Swords in reverse. The Chariot. That's our birthday. We're Cancer. The Magician. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. The High Priestess. Big burden. I think the decision has been made. There's both of those are Canada. July 1st and the Cancer and the bird of the 10 provinces. And doing things with the budget and whatnot. Is this how he's going to get in? No King Charles here. No Emperor here. Wow. Interesting to see if he calls Carney Governor Carney, like he called Trudeau Governor Trudeau. Well, I'm going to leave it here. YouTube is probably going to show you a video that you possibly haven't seen yet. Why don't you click on it, and I'll see you over there. Thank you very much for spending this time with me and indulging me in this. It doesn't just affect Canadians, it affects the Americans and the British people as well. I think we've all been kind of duped about what's going on. Is Canada a real country? Thanks for watching.